The numbers told the story. They always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Hour number 2 of a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, and of course, Sirius XM channel 158. It's Gill Alexander. It's my little buddy, Kelley Bydlon. I ain't little. Man's losing weight before our eyes. What is it again? From what to what?
316 to 248.
He's 16 to 248. If you're doing your scoring at home, that's 68 pounds.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Good for you. Still to come this hour, a man who has all kinds of weight bet stories to tell, Todd Wishnev. Talk college hoops with him. And Wes Reynolds standing by to talk college hoops and golf with us as well. We had tweets at Beating the Book. The numbers guys. He says 8 Final Fours for Izzo. Yes, numbers guys. When I said 6, what I was doing was I was counting it back from he won the championship. He also finished runner-up. Then he had 6 additional Final Fours. So that's how I was doing it. 2 times he stopped in the Elite 8. And then, 5 other times in the Sweet 16. So, yes, 8 total Final Fours. It's great to have you back, Gill. How about that tennis pick last week? Medvedev, yes. That dude surely tore something in the final game before the third set tiebreaker, which he went on to win. I think it was a groin or a hamstring. Nice pick. That was a plus 160-ish play we had against Stefanos Tsitsipas. And what he's referring to is that Medvedev did the splits right before the final tiebreaker in the third set. Ow. And he was essentially on one leg. I was like, oh, we're going to lose this because he just tore something. And he beats Stefanos Tsitsipas on one leg, essentially.
Wow. Was this this wasn't Delray?
No, this
Tsitsipas doesn't play Delray.
Where were we at that? They all run into each other now. Were we in Doha? I can't remember. Anyway, it was amazing, and he somehow won. And then I got tweets, people like, Tsitsipas just retire after that, right? Maybe he should. Bert Wiedemeyer, nice to have you back in the fold, Gilly. So there was some chatter between Kelley and Joe pertaining to your whereabouts while you were on vacation. Miami, possibly? If so, there was some speculation you made your way over to Space Nightclub. Me don't think so, LOL. I didn't make it my way to Space Nightclub, I'll tell you that much. San Francisco, Miami, and D.C.
I started telling a story about space, then I kind of had to bail on it.
Jeff Cam, great having you back, Gil. I, too, was mesmerized by the Joe Serralo looks. It's just not fair. Hey, man, we were all young once upon a time. Vegas regular, right triangle. We have a lot of these. I said isosceles.
Congratulations, a numbers game audience. You are all geometry experts.
Of course it was a right triangle. I'm so stupid. New Jersey, New York. Appreciate the shout out, Gill, about the keeping track with the formula. He posted the latest grid. He has a nice grid with all the teams and where they qualify and where they don't. Again, if you missed it earlier, right now as of this moment, it is Auburn, Duke, and Houston that qualify under the formula. Chris Heath, were you the guest at my Airbnb the last 2 weeks? I was not. James Sott, after all the Guardians did for you, Gill, toying with your emotions, this is how you repay them. There's only one solution, getting you a Guardians shirt and Kelley a Cavs shirt in March. This will change your minds and odds most likely.
Buddhist man bought me an AFC hat finally. Were you still here for that?
No.
Yeah.
I missed all the good stuff.
I wore that after the Super Bowl.
Stringfellow Hawk. Pythagorean theorem is only valid for right triangles. For all of you other triangle calculation needs, use the law of sines or cosines. Welcome back. Thank you, Stringfellow.
So what it go? It goes right triangle. Which one's? And then you have equilateral, right? Was that the other one? And isosceles?
Equilateral is same length sides for each, right?
Right.
That's
What the hell is isosceles? That's the one I can't think of now. Or are we making crap up?
Yeah, isosceles is the one where the two. That's exactly right, Savannah. Thank you. It's the longer looking one because the long sides are the same, but the base is not. So two sides are the same.
Like a cone.
That's what it would look like.
Okay.
Oh my God, are we doing geometry on radio? Wes Reynolds joins us, ladies and gentlemen. He was a great geometry student, I'm sure, back in the day. He joins us courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. Golf writer, college basketball guy. He knows all kinds of sports. Co-host of Long Shots, of course. And Wes, I just want to start by saying, you did not have Brian Campbell. You had Aldrich Potgieter. And I just want to say, it's time for you to hang up betting golf. You obviously are not good at this at all.
Well, apparently not, because I had the number one guy in driving distance, that being Aldrich Potgieter. He is number one on the PGA Tour for driving distance. And guess where Brian Campbell was heading into last week? Number 182 out of 182 in driving distance. And you're playing a par 5 at 18, they play it over and over again, which I hate. That's a pet peeve of mine in the playoff. It's like play different holes every single hole so that you don't go on forever. But Aldrich Potgieter, look, had it right there, 70-1. He was the amateur champion. That basically it's like the Open Championship, but for amateur. So essentially the British Amateur won the British Amateur 2 years ago at 17 years old. So he's got the pedigree. He's a 20-year-old kid that leads the PGA Tour in driving distance. His first year on the tour. So he shoots 61 on Friday. You're thinking, okay, 4-shot lead going into the weekend. It goes down to 1. And then all of a sudden he's tied with Brian Campbell. Brian Campbell, by the way, a journeyman, 31 years old. So not an old man by any stretch, but has been grinding on the Korn Ferry Tour, got his card originally on the PGA Tour in 2017, and then couldn't keep it, and has been on the Korn Ferry Tour ever since, trying to get back on the PGA Tour. He finally does. He never had a top 10 finish in a PGA Tour event, and finally got back out on the tour and gets a win, though. So, something for perseverance, but got pretty unlucky yesterday with that bounce off the trees on the second playoff hole on 18 for Potgieter to lose, but also got lucky earlier this year with Nick Taylor winning the Sony Open. So 1-1 in playoffs, I'll take it.
That's very honest. That's very honest, honest assessment right there.
The Brian Campbell stuff, it is like, obviously it sucked because Wes had a bet going. I was rooting for him, but when these stories happen, Wes, it is still cool. Sorry, it's one of those cheesy sports moments where you're like, this dude has been grinding away in the depths of golf that we never talk about, we never see, we never hear about how much they have to pay out of their own pocket to make sure they get to one location to go play another. Cool to see stories like that, even if it does take a tree to get lucky. But 5 out of 8 outrights would have sounded a lot cooler for the long shots crew, but now we're 4 out of 8. 4 out of 8 for the season.
God, you guys suck at this.
Yeah, I mean, Wes has 3 of those 4. Should be noted.
Well, also what you're saying is it doesn't, I'm just thinking the tennis equivalent. That doesn't happen in tennis, right? Like Emma Raducanu won the U.S. Open as a quali. That has never happened before, has never happened since. Who knows if it'll ever happen again? And I guess Eagle winning the French Open kind of out of nowhere to those who weren't listening to this show back in 2020. But other than that, you can't really think of something, equivalent. No one comes from out of nowhere really to win. Certainly not a major, but even a tournament, it rarely happens. Wes, for those who are listening on Sirius XM 158 and are unfamiliar with what you do golf-wise, can you sort of give the elevator pitch? Because Wes Reynolds, for those who don't know, hits outrights all the time in golf at a ridiculous rate. What is your alchemy? What is your handicapping alchemy? How would you describe it?
Well, Gill, usually what I do, and I end up, depending on the size of the field, if it's 70 players in a signature event, then I'm not going to play. I'll play maybe 4 outrights or 5 outrights or something like that. But generally on average, it ends up being somewhere between like 6 to 8. I had more this week because it was I thought a bomb heavy event where it wasn't going to be chalk winning this event because it wasn't a signature event with really a lot of star power at the top. But usually what I do, I go through kind of the course history when I'm doing my write-up for VSiN.com. That usually comes out Tuesday morning / afternoon. And I look at various stats, what I think are going to be important on a given course that week. It might be iron play. So it might be strokes gained approach, or it might be proximity to the hole from 200 yards and out if you got a lot of long irons like last week. Some weeks it's going to be driving distance. Some weeks it's going to be accuracy. Some weeks it's going to be scrambling and strokes gained around the green. So I put that in there, and then I look at that, and I also look at the market a little bit. Okay, what's a price that a player should be? Is he higher? Is he lower? Am I getting some value here? So that's how I build my card essentially. And then, look, the hope, you want to hit one every week, but the hope is to do at least what we did yesterday with Potgieter, where at least you get a guy in the mix and you can monetize that, so you can come out the other side with Brian Campbell, which my hand was kind of forced and I had to do at least going into 18 to at least get something out of it. But that's basically what I do every single week, looking at the field, looking at the market. I look obviously a little bit at course history. I look at recent form. If a guy's making a bunch of cuts, if a guy's got a bunch of top 20s or top 10s in a row, sometimes you could do that. And then looking at course form as well, the proverbial horse for courses. If you have a guy that always plays well at a certain event, he usually trends to play well continuously.
And when it comes to something like the Masters, which is, a little more than a month away still, it's a smaller pool. You can obviously have a bunch of throwouts too, right? Because there's a bunch of folks that still get to play in the Masters that have no real shot at winning it. Past Masters champions leap to mind. your edge is lessened, I would imagine, in something like that.
Yeah, a little bit. And the Masters is one of the more predictive events. I know our friends over at Data Golf monitor that, and usually the Masters is up at or near the top in terms of what's a predictive event. When you look at guys that play well there tend to always play well there at Augusta National. And even when they make changes to the course, they know every nook and cranny of the place. So you can kind of look at a form line. If you got a little spreadsheet and say, okay, he was 10th 2 years ago, he was 15th 3 years ago. So always kind of in contention. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You can take almost half the field out because it's past champions, or it's a guy like a Brian Campbell, who's a total journeyman, who, by the way, winning the Mexico Open yesterday qualifies for the Masters.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, well, Brian Campbell's not going to win the Masters. I hate to, poo-poo his seminal career moment yesterday, but he's not going to. It's just an honor for him to play. So you can eliminate, there's usually 85 to 90 players. You can eliminate half the field before you even start.
Do you have any Masters bets yet?
I do not as of yet. I'm kind of periodically going to try to add over the weeks and just time guys. Well, correction, I do have one. I did bet a little Ludwig Aubert before he won the Farmers Insurance Open. Not the greatest price at 18-1, but I figured I better have him, grab him now, because now he's going to get cut and he's going to be about probably 12 or 14-1 during Masters Week.
All right. And your weekly picks, including this week, we first hear them on the Long Shots podcast. That's where you first release them?
Yep, tomorrow, and I'll also have the column up at VSiN.com for the Cognizant Classic down there in Palm Beach.
Ah, the Cognizant Classic. Wes, hang out. Let's talk some college hoops on the other side, okay?
You bet.
Let's do it. Wes Reynolds, right here on a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The best bettors use data to get ahead, so why not put AI to work for you this March? Meet Rhythm, the app that helps you build personalized betting models, analyze trends, and make sharper picks for every game. Whether you're a seasoned bettor or looking for an edge on those 300-plus college teams, Rhythm has you covered with AI-backed projections and insights. Start your free 7-day trial today by downloading the app or visiting rhythm.com. Let me spell that for you. That's RITHMM.com. Rhythm. Check it out. Predict, play, dominate. It's Gill Alexander, Kelley Bydlon. Wes Reynolds, kind enough to join us for a second segment. We'll read more tweets here coming up. But I want to get Wes on because Wes and I on air, we're talking betting stuff. Off air, we talk about other sorts of things. Just to give you an example, we were just talking about the Brat Pack documentary, which we both had seen independently, and we both ended up having the exact same review, which is that. Are you familiar with the Brat Pack? You're probably too young.
You've brought this up on the show before.
Oh, I have. Okay, so Andrew McCarthy.
You're very disappointed in it.
Yes, because Andrew McCarthy, who was like, he should be thrilled that he was in he was known for this.
Yeah.
He's like all apparently some guy wrote an article that time in the New Yorker, like, oh, the Brat Pack, and like his whole thing was, well, I felt like it didn't really, treat my career or our careers seriously. We were pigeonholed into this thing, and we weren't treated as artists after that. And it would go to like Demi Moore and Rob Lowe. Did you guys feel the same way? And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, we had great careers afterwards. That's what they wanted to say, but they didn't say it. Anyway, Wes and I were just talking about that. The other thing is,
like, what are you complaining about, man? Like, you had a thing. You had a moment in history. A moment in history that will be remembered by all.
Oh, so whiny. But then last week or the week before I was supposed to be on, Wes was here, and Wes, the SNL 50-year anniversary was on television. You had a review, sir, for us.
Oh. Yeah, and by the way, with the Brat Pack, I hope Demi Moore wins the Oscar next week. I absolutely hope she wins the Oscar next week for Best Actress, because Hollywood should love a comeback story. She was an A-list star that kind of fell off a little bit, made a couple bombs, and then was never the same. So hopefully she wins that award for sure.
Brian Ortega on the Oscars coming Wednesday. Looking forward to that.
In break booking, Brian Ortega will be joining us 8:30 on Wednesday. Now I've said it on air, so he's locked in.
That's
he's
right.
Absolutely
There's no choice now.
What was Demi in? It is Demi.
Do we lose Wes?
I don't know, but Ortega answered. The Substance?
No, I think I'm still with you. I just think my audio dropped for a minute.
Okay.
The Substance? Is that what it's called? That's what she's in?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. Wes, real quick before we get to your college basketball picks, your SNL 50 review is?
Yeah, look, I enjoyed the show. They had the concert on Friday night, and then, of course, had SNL 50 on Sunday. And, I just marveled, Gill,
when I'm asked, okay, who's the biggest star in the history of SNL? It's Eddie Murphy.
Of course.
It still is Eddie Murphy. It still is Eddie Murphy 40 years later, and he was in a couple sketches on last Sunday's SNL 50 anniversary episode, and it's like, the guy can do this in his sleep. He can still do it. He's still the funniest guy in the room. He's the guy that saved the show in the early 1980s when Lorne Michaels left for 5 years and then came back. Because remember, he was on in the Gene Dumanian, Dick Ebersol era, and he was kind of the breakout star in the early. So he never worked with Lorne. He never worked with Lorne Michaels.
Wow.
And,
yeah.
Eddie to me is still number one. He was terrific in one segment where he was on the segment with Tracy Morgan. And Eddie was playing Tracy Morgan standing right next to him and sounded just like him, had his mannerisms down and everything. Just Eddie Murphy still number one all-time SNL for me.
No question he is. So well worth it just for Eddie Murphy himself. Yeah,
that bit was great. I did catch that one on
He does
Twitter.
a great Tracy Morgan for sure. All right, college hoops tonight, man. What do you got? A couple big games, too.
Yeah, we've got one really big game, Houston and Texas Tech. By the way, I know you have a formula, Gill, and I have one as well, where I take teams going into when the brackets are released, anybody that's in the top 25 in Ken Pom adjusted offensive efficiency, and then when you add their defensive efficiency ranking, if it's less than 50 combined, those are the teams that usually win the national championship. There was that 1 year with UConn where Kevin Ollie was the coach when Shabazz Napier just went nuts in the tournament where they didn't qualify. But every single year after 2002 or from 2002 on, when Ken Pomeroy started doing the rankings, has met that criteria. And right now there are 12 teams as of today, we sit here, that meet that criteria. Two of them, by the way, are Houston and Texas Tech. So they are meeting tonight. Texas Tech, by the way, did beat Houston down there at the Fertitta Center a couple weeks ago. The only team to win on the road at Houston. So we'll see tonight if Chance McMillan is going to play. He did not play on Saturday in the win over West Virginia for the Red Raiders. But I look at this and look, I lean a little bit Texas Tech here at +1.5. Would maybe look at the over too at about 131. I just think Houston comes off a big win on Saturday. They had College Game Day, the basketball version there from ESPN on Saturday, and they held off and beat Iowa State, despite the fact that Iowa State had a couple starters out, only beat them by 8. Now going on the road, Texas Tech is arguably, when you look at the home court advantage in the Big 12, which is, I think, one of the more pronounced home court advantages by conference, really, in all of college basketball, Texas Tech, everybody will say, oh, Kansas, because of the reputation. Texas Tech is arguably the hardest place to win it on the road in the Big 12. And I think it's going to be hard for Kelvin Sampson and his guys tonight on that short turnaround.
I have Texas Tech in mind just on the outside looking in. Grant McCaslin never having coached in a Sweet 16 before, but also that Texas Tech has only, in quotes, right, beaten Houston in overtime in Arizona. And other than that, they don't have a third win against a top 10%er in RPI, but they have a chance again tonight against Houston and then Kansas coming up as well. So they can still get there 10th and 27th respectively, Ken Pom adjusted offense and defense. Anything in the Michigan-Nebraska game or in the Kansas-Colorado games tonight?
Yeah, Michigan, Nebraska. Michigan has gone out to a 1-point favorite pretty much market wide. I like the Huskers here. I think the Huskers kind of are a team, one of those several teams out there that kind of need that like one or two more quad one wins. You're going to hear that term a lot when you look at the net rankings that the selection committee uses for the criteria. And I think Nebraska might need one more to really, I think, feel safe in terms of getting into the NCAA tournament. They have a couple already, but they get Michigan off losing the rivalry game the first time that Dusty May met Tom Izzo in this Michigan State rivalry. And Michigan State really just took them apart in the final several minutes up there in Ann Arbor. Dusty May, of course, my Indiana University brother, signs the extension with Michigan, the long-term extension with the big pay raise, deservedly so, to stay at Michigan. So he will not be returning to the alma mater to take the vacant Indiana job. So, Michigan, I worry a little bit about their defense. Offensively, they are terrific, but they're one of those teams that just fell out of that top 50 when I combine the offensive and defensive efficiency rankings for me. So Nebraska getting 1, even starting to get some 1.5. We'll go with Nebraska ball in Lincoln tonight.
Nebraska ball from Wes Reynolds, Midwesterner himself. Anything off the grid? A little Bethune-Cookman and Alabama State? Anything like that?
I'm trying, man. Monday night college basketball cards, by the way, because now everybody's getting into the market, Gill, because football is in the rearview mirror. So now you're looking at these Monday college basketball cards, and you have a lot of these SWAC and Southland and ASUN games. So these are games I do a little bit of investigating and see if I could find something. But Monday, not typically the best college basketball cards out there. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have Wishnev on here momentarily, and I'm gonna ask him all kinds of things about, who he really would bet on to win it all right now, who he thinks a sleeper could be in the tournament, who he's not buying into, all kinds of different college basketball questions. And I sort of want to give you a shot at that here in our last 60 seconds. Give me if you were forced to make a bet right now, you get one team to win it all. Obviously, we don't know the bracket. Who is that team? And then of the group of sort of, the teams that are considered consensus-wise to be contenders, what is the team you are least buying?
Yeah, I already have a couple futures in pocket. I already have Iowa State and Texas Tech, so I won't select them necessarily. But in terms of, a team that I don't have, and they're a very chalky price at this point. Look, Duke has been very impressive. I think finally they have a team that can legitimately win it all. Just a good mix of guys and a lot of freshmen that are playing very good defense. I know Illinois has been kind of leaking oil lately, but Duke beat them by over 40 in the Garden on Saturday. And this is an Illinois offense that's rated top 20 in offensive efficiency, that is very talented, that's going to have a couple guys picked in the first round of the NBA draft next year. And Duke just absolutely took them apart. So if you said, okay, pick one team to win it, it would probably be Duke at this standpoint. I still worry a little bit about Houston in terms of making shots in the NCAA tournament. One bad shooting night and you can be out. And they put such a premium on defense that we've seen that in the past with Houston. And then the Alabamas of the world, like Alabama, their defense, I worry about that in the NCAA tournament as well. So of the high end, I would say the Duke Blue Devils of those three that you mentioned for your formula earlier.
Yeah, I so agree with you too about like the Alabamas on the defensive side of the ball, those types of teams, and then on the offensive side, side of the ball, the Tennessees and the Houstons of the world. All it takes is one bad day, right? And that's that. Really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, Wes. Appreciate it, man.
You bet, guys. Thanks for having me.
Wes Reynolds at Wes Reynolds 1. That's the number 1 co-host of Long Shots. It's called Long Shots. Greatest golf podcast there ever was. Kelley Bydlon's on there as well. Todd Wishnev next.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back on a numbers game, live from Circa Resort Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Gill Alexander, Kelley Bydlon. This is a numbers game. Todd Wishnev standing by. Oh, can't wait. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Joe C714, glad you're back. You were missed. Thank you very much, Joe. Matt F, Sports Better X. And Kelley's a pro. Absolutely no concern on his face while John is howling, laughing, saying, "You thought you booked John Fanta?" A couple weeks ago.
I didn't even tell that story right, because shout out to John Martin, who ended up staying on with us. Because once he said his name, I had realized what had happened, or what something that must have happened.
I'm telling you, this should be a recurring bit on the show.
He ended up staying on. He did a great college basketball segment. He went 5-0 that night. He gave out 5 bets and went 5-0.
Not supposed to be there.
Not supposed to be there.
Jason H11. Hello, Mr. Alexander. I'm Kelley's neighbor. Can you ask him to stop the weight loss? All the women beating down his door are keeping me up all night. Haven't had a good night's sleep in months. Help. Prime time. Cowboys _Cubs 1. Yo. Hey, man. What's all this welcome back gibberish? Were you off the air or something last week? And you ruptured your Achilles? Why have I not heard about this before? Do tell, or better yet, if Wishnev has any inside info on it. Yeah, he wanted the tennis balls. That's all he cared about. C. Spackler. I know what it felt like 2 days after Achilles surgery. You are one tough son of apparently a great father. Yeah, man. No, Achilles, it was fine to do the show. I just couldn't breathe. But the leg was cool. I mean, it wasn't cool, but you know what I mean. Sean, by the way, the first time I did it, I did a Love Zone. 4 hours freshly ruptured.
Oh, really?
He goes numb.
The OG Love Zone.
The OG Love Zone.
That's what threw me off at first.
Sean's Fox plays. Okay, why all the love for blocks and Defensive Player of the Year? I think steals is a better category, as it actually guarantees you get the possession. If you take the leaders for steals and blocks, your Defensive Player of the Year should be Daniels or SGA. I'm with you on SGA. Derby Day. I was sweating with Wes yesterday, but had to hedge Pot Geeter. All-time bad beat, but the show goes on. Hashtag 70-1. Wow, he had him 70-1. Chris Hartman, Gill, tell Fez to step aside. Matt Brown is the luck box champ of 2025. 2 Sundays, 2 miracles. Daytona and Mexico Open. Yes, I'm bitter. Had Cindric leading with 1.5 miles left and Pot Geeter. Los Vegas 514. Yo, welcome back. R.I.P. to the great songstress Roberta Flack. Oh, Roberta Flack died. Oh, no. What's your favorite Roberta Flack song?
I don't know.
You know him. Killing Me Softly. That's Roberta Flack.
Oh, really?
You probably know it as the Fugees, thinking they was their original. No, it's Roberta Flack.
I definitely know that version better, yeah.
Donny Hathaway duets. Wow, from D.C., by the way, Roberta Flack. D-Gen Southern Gent. Welcome back, Gill. Congratulations to Kelley on the weight loss. But as much as he enjoyed being called your little friend, please don't call hardwood handicappers Kelley and JVT's little show. First time I think I've seen JVT angry. Who called it a little show?
I don't know where that's from.
Oh, wow. Norman Vegas, Wembanyama, biggest sports story while you were away? Let's not forget the sports and political intersection of the incredible U.S. versus Canada hockey games during the Four Nations face-off. So much better than any All-Star game. Yes, I mean you, NBA. Now the NBA can eat it with their All-Star game.
Yeah, Four Nations was fun, man.
It was great.
It was fun.
Players cared.
Yeah.
And finally, Jesse Welch, not finally, but we'll stop here. Jesse Welch, I think an important part of what makes Wes so good at golf handicapping was glanced over, and it's his research and knowledge of these courses. That's what leads him to being able to pick and choose which stat categories to hone in on. Yes, you're absolutely correct, Jesse. We probably didn't make that clear enough. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the star of the Megapod, the Beating the Book Megapod, and also one of the stars of the Showtime docuseries Action, which followed gamblers here in Las Vegas on Showtime about 5 years ago. You can follow him on Twitter at T Wishnev. He is a great college basketball bettor. It's Todd Wishnev, everybody, from his mom's cork attic in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. How you doing, Toddy?
I was doing great due to my recent 10-day 79-38 heater in college basketball. Ooh. But then I was told to come on here at 11:25, and now it's 11:34. And I had to listen to tweets about Roberta Flack. So I'm not exactly in the best mood after I was in a great mood just 9 minutes ago.
Well, we're off to a roaring start. It's okay. We'll make it up to you. You can stay for a second segment. How about that? There, it's fair. Todd, let me ask you a question. You are a college basketball in-game bettor, and you are on a heater. How can people be a part of this? Can they be a part of this? Do you get around to adding people?
Okay. I added prior to this year about 400 people to my WhatsApp list where during the commercials, I try to get the in-game bets out real quick. Contrary to what Mike Palm said on Follow the Money, I never charged for the service. I considered charging. I decided not to. All I said to people is, if you make money, you can always tip me. And some people have been nice enough to tip. It's a WhatsApp group. And yeah, you don't always get the number that I get. Sometimes you get better. Sometimes you get worse, depending on, whether you can get it at the commercial or whether they, hit a 3-pointer right out of the break, or they miss 3 shots out of the break. But I mean, you get all the updates all the time. You see how it works. So anyways, I forgot what the question was.
Anyway, there you go. So they can go to T Wishnev, your Twitter.
Oh, yeah. So your question was, how do people?
Yes.
So basically, people have asked to be on it, but it's just a pain in the neck to get everybody entered into the thing. So I haven't done it this year. But if you send me a private message on a DM on Twitter at T Wishnev, the next time I start adding people again, I'll put people on. You just have to put WhatsApp on your phone.
Todd, did you hear Roberta Flack passed away? Just curious.
Yeah. Let's chit-chat it.
Okay. Let's get that. By the way, Todd also won the Megapod this year. He had the best record on the Megapod, 3 bets a week. Also some fabrications on air about how somebody faded your picks to glory, whatever. What other kind of nonsense people are making up on air here?
Mike Paul told the story about some janitor who supposedly went opposite my best bets on Megapod, but we don't do best bets on the Megapod. So I just looked. First of all, I was 31-23 on the Megapod, and if you just take the first pick that I had, I was like in all 18. I think it was 9-9, and 9 of them were totals, anyways. So there's no way he could have been 10-2.
That's right.
The whole thing is ridiculous.
The whole thing is ridiculous. Okay, so now while you in-game bet, and again, Todd does his in-game stuff. He doesn't do a whole lot of pre-flopping. but he does obviously glean a lot about college basketball while doing it. By the way, you may remember the Megapod, which we did for March Madness. We do it every year with Will, Hill, and Todd. But 2 years ago, Will had FAU going to the Final Four. Todd had Michigan State and San Diego State in the finals.
No, not Michigan State.
Oh, no, pardon me.
UConn and San Diego State in the
San Diego
final
State.
game. And it almost cost me $1 million. That was a great story.
That was a whole other story. Right. You had Michigan State going far, though, didn't you?
I had Michigan State going, but they didn't make it to the Final Four. It was San Diego State against UConn, which was the final game.
Correct. Okay. So let me just ask you some broad questions. Let's start with, I just did the formula, the first update of the formula that I've had all these years. And right now at this moment, and this is subject to change, right now at this moment, the only 3 teams that qualify to win it all, and this is almost without exception over the last 3 decades plus, it is Duke, it is Arizona, excuse me, let me start again. It is Auburn, it is Duke, and it is Houston. Auburn, Duke, and Houston are the 3 teams that currently qualify, with the teams that are just on the outside looking in being Iowa State, Michigan State, and Arizona. Now, there are a few teams that get disqualified because one of the parameters is a guy hasn't coached in a Sweet 16 before. Florida chief among them. If I said to you right now, where's the bet to win it all? If I forced you, Todd Wishnev, you must make a bet given the current odds on a team to win it all, bracket unseen. Where's your bet?
I like Florida. I think they're really, really talented. And, I have concerns. I mean, Duke, they haven't really played that many teams, because the ACC is so weak. So I have some concerns about it. I like Houston as always, and Houston's shooting the ball a lot better this year. They're number 7 on offense this year. Typically, they can have problems shooting, but I like Houston obviously a lot as well. But I just feel like Florida just seems a little more loaded than everybody else. But I didn't bet any of the top teams' futures this year. I don't bet a lot of futures in general, but I did bet UConn 25-1 in December, the 2 years ago, and 11-1 in January last year. And just the only reason I did those is because I just felt UConn was the best team by far, both of those last 2 years, in my opinion. And that's why I bet those futures. And then this year I didn't bet any futures except like long shot ones that Stevie Fezzik told me not to bet. But I don't care what he says. And I bet them if you want to know what those ones are. He's going to say, oh, don't talk about your Dumbo VCU. Whatever, Stevie, get over it.
You have a VCU to win it all bet?
400-1.
400-1. VCU being a sleeper of sleepers, almost comatose. That's how much of a sleeper they are. What
St. Mary's 100-1. I did also. Louisville 100-1 and Creighton 66-1. Now, I'm not saying any of those teams are going to win it all, but if you can get to the final 16 or the final 8, you can hedge and make money on them.
Any other sleepers you want to talk about that you think have, like, if they get the right sort of path, could make some noise in a tournament?
I mean, there's so many teams. I mean, don't sleep on Oregon. I mean, Dana Altman is just an unbelievable NCAA tournament coach. And then yesterday or Saturday with that unbelievable comeback at Wisconsin. So I wouldn't sleep on them just because they're always good in the tournament. Some other teams down the road, like maybe Clemson is a team I like. I like their coach a lot. Texas A&M can't shoot, but they are gutty and gritty, and they can go to the offensive glass. I love those gritty type teams that can win when no one can put the ball in the basket. In the NCAA tournament, we get these tons of unders, especially in the early rounds, because they're playing at these unfamiliar venues, so it's tough for these guys to shoot. So the defensive grittiness, the defense shows up all the time. The offense doesn't always. So, teams like Texas A&M can be, interesting. And, of course, I would love to fade Arizona as every year.
Well, hold that thought. Hold that thought. We'll get to this coming up. Teams like Arizona that he doesn't buy into at the top, and more sleepers. Todd Wishnev on a numbers game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Don't forget, top of the hour after the show, Money Moves with Stormy Bonatoni and Matt Brown. That's from noon to 2 Eastern, followed by Prop Points. Nick Whalen and Jeff Erickson from 2 to 3 Eastern, followed by Make It Rain with Adam Shine. That's your lineup coming up. VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. How about some G-Bank best bets of the day? Can we do that as well?
Let's do it.
Let's do that. All of the bets for every show, every host, every guest on the G-Bank ledger each and every day. I have 2 tennis plays yet to come, one of which is still playable, I think. Oh, no, wait a minute. It's a CLV Fest. I don't know if either's playable. These are all, again, VSiN.com/picks. For those subscribers, they have these on the webpage. I gave them out the night before. Kimberly Burrell, I had at -104 versus Yue Yuan. This is in Austin, Texas. Burrell is now -130. You cannot play that anymore. Magdalena Fresh, who I got at plus, or it's Frech, by the way, got it at +117 versus Alina Avanesian. Well, this is in Merida now. She is now -104. Not as fun either.
Where's that at?
That's in Merida.
Just want to hear you say it again.
You want me to say
Merida.
It? It's in Merida. It's in Merida. So basically, either of those tennis plays are really still available. If they come back down, I would play them. But again, pays to subscribe. VSiN.com/picks for subscribers. And also the Cleveland Guardians, which I gave out earlier, under 82.5 season win total on them. Kelley.
Yeah, same sort of story here. And Blazers played the money line last night, -135 when they were laying 2.5. That is out to 5.5. So as Gill says, it pays to subscribe because I put that on the website last night.
Yeah. What you know about Merida, Mexico?
Absolutely.
And then finally, this is from Wes Reynolds, our buddy Wes Reynolds, who had Nebraska ball tonight, +1.5 points against Michigan in college hoops. Once again, the G-Bank Best Bets, the official bank of VSiN. Always check out VSiN Best Bets. Each and every show, every player, every host, every guest, every sport. Best Bets brought to you by G-Bank. Upping the ante with up to a $750 bonus for new G-Bank Visa Signature Card customers. First new customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening receive a $250 bonus. In addition, if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the 30 days of account opening, you'll receive another $500 bonus. That's potentially a $750 bonus. I did the math. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSiN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. Ladies and gentlemen, he is back in the fold. Todd Wishnev. You can follow him on Twitter at @TWishnev from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Squirrel Hill if you're scoring at home. Thank you for joining us once again, Todd, and a very handsome beard you have going. Well done. Nothing?
Thank
you,
Billy.
All right, let's continue. Let me just throw out some teams. Louisville, live in a tournament.
I love Louisville. That was one of the ones I just told you. Louisville 100-1. I love Louisville. I love the guard for Wisconsin, Wepner, Judge Wapner. He's outstanding, that point guard, and we all know guard play goes a long way in the NCAA tournament. I love Louisville.
Clemson.
I like the coach, and I like the grittiness. They're just gritty. I like that team.
Xavier.
I like them. They're playing better lately. Sean Miller's a good coach. I don't know if they have enough, but
okay.
So.
And then in your, very long shot category, again, maybe not for a bet, but maybe an upset as a giant killer in an early round. SMU.
Ooh, SMU can play some ball. Although Duke absolutely ripped them. They've been killing these other teams, though, until they lost to Wake Forest the other day. They're not bad, SMU.
You mentioned Arizona on the way out as a team that you're not buying into. Which of the sort of conventional wisdom contenders are you just like out on? You're like, that team is malarkey.
I can't stand Arizona because their coach is terrible, and it's the same old Arizona every year. And Caleb Love is going to just shoot them out of a game. And, I've never been an Arizona in the tournament fan. Kansas, give me a break. I'll tell you, one time I drove cross country. It was a February 1st evening, a Monday night. I was driving cross country, and it was Big Monday against Iowa State in the early 2000s. I think it was 2002. I got off at the exit at 7:55, and I said, "Hey, could I get into the Kansas game if I went over there?" She's like, "It's sold out. You'll never get into Fog Island." I go over there. I park. The game had started 5 minutes before. I got a ticket for $10 and I went in there. And let me tell you, it is an unbelievable experience. The sound is so loud and the stands go straight up. Why do I tell you this story? it's because Kansas has a huge home court advantage, and this is why they always stink in the tournament. They're not as good as that home court helps them be. And this year, they're just not that good in general. But that home court is just so valuable, and it's why Kansas stinks always in the tournament, I think.
All right, let me throw out some in this category of who you don't buy into, and I have a hunch on some of these, obviously. Alabama, I'm guessing you're out on them.
I mean, Alabama's, they're fun, 47th on defense, though, they're going to trip up somewhere. If the threes aren't going in one of these NCAA tournament games, it could get real sphinctery for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah. Not enough Houston Millett. He got hurt. That's the real difference, Todd. I think you know that to be the difference.
Typically, most teams really, really need Pepperdine transfers.
I can't even remember their names anymore, Todd. Just when he brings up one of these guys, I'm like, he's talking about one of the Pepperdine kids again.
Well, right cell ruptured his Achilles, and then Houston Millett decided not to redshirt anymore, and now we got hurt. So anyway,
should have stayed at Pepperdine.
Anyway, okay. What about Tennessee? Opposite problem.
I don't. I mean, as they're number 5 in KenPom, so they're supposed to be like one of the teams that can win it all. And of course, they could win it all. Tennessee is a very good team, but I don't know. I don't like the coach really. Sometimes if they're not shooting well, so I don't love Tennessee. No.
I mean, does Houston worry you in that same way? They just have an offensive nightmare.
In the old days, that was Houston's issue. This year, they're a good offensive team this year. So I'm not as and they shoot the three. I believe I'm going to tell you right now. They shoot the 3-point shot number 4 in the country at 40.4%. This is not your grandfather's Houston team. It may not even be your surrogate mother's Houston team.
Maryland? No, nothing.
I like Maryland. I think they can pull some upsets. They're very balanced. They can play defense. They've got some real nice offensive players. I used to play pickup basketball with the coach Kevin Willard up at the University of Pittsburgh when his coach Ralph Willard, his dad, was the coach of the University of Pittsburgh Panthers, and he was on the team. And let me tell you this. He wasn't that much better than me, my friend.
Oh, here we go.
Really wasn't.
Here we go. Yes. Hubert Davis calling Todd Carolina. You heard that story? That's for another day. That's for another day. Okay, let's get back to Florida and let's wrap it up with this, because this is the team that when I asked who you would bet on right now at current odds, 8-1 on the Florida Gators. Let me go to the coach, Todd Golden, which, again, in my formula, it precludes them because he hasn't coached in a Sweet 16 before. There have been 2 exceptions to that, Kevin Ollie in 2014, Danny Hurley in 2023. So it has been done before. There are, we were throwing around some analytics pieces on him, how he is he's an unconventional thinker. They were beating a team by double digits at the end of the first half, and he decided to foul, happened to be an 84% free throw shooter, right? Because in his analytics, or at least what's being fed to him, the opponent had a 0.9 points advantage for that sequence. And so fouling would, potentially turn that. It did, by the way, in that sequence. I guess the question is, when you are assessing teams like that, if all things are equal, do you care about stuff like that? Like, do you really feel like if that's the positive, where you're like, all things being equal, that's a great thing, which is the coach on the opposite end where you're like, I can't trust this coach in these moments?
Go Arizona's coach. Forget about it. I really like that Golden guy.
Tommy Lloyd.
And I love that I love that whole thing where he gave out 1.6 points, but he was going to come back the other way and get 0.9. So it would be a 0.7 instead of a 0.9. I thought that was very clever. And so I do like that coach, Todd Golden for Florida. One of the other reasons that I like Florida, for the whole thing. Other teams that I just don't like the coach, you mean?
Yeah.
Here's another one. I love the coach. I love Michigan State's coach, obviously. Who doesn't?
Tom Izzo.
Todd
refuses to say their names, by the way.
I just forgot. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Sorry. My bad. Who else do I not like? I'm not thrilled with Gonzaga's coach, Mark Few.
Nailed it.
You are not a Mark Few guy. I know. Well done, Todd.
Mark Few. I'm sorry, Mr. Few, but I don't love him.
Okay.
I mean, he's good. He's a good coach again, but in the elite, I'm not sure I don't like Bruce Pearl, and I'm getting tired of Bruce Pearl too.
You don't like Bruce Pearl as a coach.
I'll tell you another reason I don't like him afterwards, but I just don't really like him.
Okay. Okay, I look forward to that on VSiN ++ on that subscription. Todd, thank you. We'll be following your in-game plays. I appreciate it, my friend. We'll see you in town in a couple weeks.
Sounds good. Now get back to the Roberta Fleck programming.
Money Moves is next with Stormy and Matt. Enjoy from VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.